taken you what? It's taken you 4 minutes and you've called him a Nazi already. Come on.
And why you was outraged by Barack Obama's deportation program? Do you know how many people Barack Obama deported in 8 years?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Well, why don't you guess?
I don't know and don't care.
You don't know and you don't care.
Joy. The point is,
Joy. You've just given it Joy.
Was not dragging women.
Joy. Let me finish. You've just
nursing babies apart and taking.
Joy.
My show had value, and that that what I was doing had value.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and back to a brand new video. Yes, I am back. I took a little hiatus to take care of my doggy, but I'm back. And today we are going to be reacting to another Piers Morgan segment regarding one of the biggest race hustlers around who was recently fired. Thank you, baby Jesus. Joy Reid. So without further ado, let's watch this video together, react to it together, and have some fun. Let's go.
Many people, including myself, saw Joy Reid as a strident advocate for identity politics, exhibiting an unhealthy obsession with racial justice, woke activism, and demonizing opponents. But she can respond to that because Joy Reid, who hosts the Joy Reid Show on YouTube,
how convenient,
joins me now. Joy Reid, welcome to Uncensored.
Piers, thank you for having me.
Well, we've never met, I don't think. We've never spoken to each other. I think we've locked horns a little bit on social media in the past. I think I'm blocked by you on X. I can't remember what crime I committed, but probably Trump related.
He's white.
Just first
That's
of all,
the crime.
What Barack Obama has said and what Chris Cuomo said there, has that given you pause for thought about what the Democrats should now do? Because it's all very well just shrieking constantly about how evil Trump is, but it clearly hasn't worked now twice. You know, the fact that the guy went away for 4 years and then came back and won again.
I'm back.
Was an utter repudiation of the tactics to beat him, wasn't it?
Well, first of all, I'll say I have not blocked you on X Twitter because I haven't been on X Twitter since Elon Musk acquired it. I actually left the platform, so there might be someone posing as me who's blocked you. So
I think it was prior to Elon's purchase.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so this is an interesting conversation because there is no one who is more obsessed with racial identity politics than Donald Trump. He ran the most racial identity politics laden campaign
I call BS.
that I've seen in my lifetime, and I've been following politics since I was 12. The point of his campaign was, if I was to sum it up, that immigrants, whom he identified as gang members from Venezuela, as people from S-hole countries, as essentially any non-white migrant or immigrant in the country, were vermin who were poisoning
the
blood
was
of
talking
the
about
country,
criminal, illegal immigrants. He was talking. Well, hang on.
They exist. They exist.
Don't misquote him off the top. This is my point, though. This is my point. I remember. Let me just say something, Joy. I remember when he won in 2016. I was at the New York Knicks the next day with my eldest son, and Chris Rock was there at the next table. We got talking. I said, "Why do you think Trump won?" And he said, "You know why?" He said, "If someone's murdered 8 people, stop going around saying he's murdered 9. And he didn't mean Trump had actually murdered anyone. What he meant was, there's plenty to criticize Trump about. I've done it myself many times. But there's also a lot of stuff that resonates with people. And I think it's the over-exaggeration, the over-demonization of Trump is part of the problem. And your characterization of his depiction of immigrants, you said the word immigrants. Actually, what he was talking about repeatedly on his stuff,
illegal
in his rallies, was specifically illegal immigrants who come in illegally, who are criminals, who are already convicted criminals, who've come into America across the southern border.
What now, Blondie?
Huge numbers who are criminals. He wasn't talking about non-criminal immigrants, as you tried to put it there.
And in his mind, it included anyone who he said came from an S-hole country, meaning if you came from Nigeria, if you came from the Gabon, if you came from any country in Africa. He in a blanketed way depicted immigrants Again, with Nazi terminology, vermin.
Really quickly, the funny thing about that is that if you speak to most Nigerians who have fled Nigeria, they would tell you that their country is corrupt and full of garbage. They would tell you that themselves. I've heard it myself from native Nigerians who have left the country who complain about how corrupt the government is. In fact, there's a video of a young woman, a black woman, who left the United States to go to, I believe, West Africa. I think it was even Nigeria, to get away from Donald Trump and, you know, fascism, and is now complaining because of how corrupt, how absolutely corrupt the system is in those West African countries. I'm just saying.
And now, and wait, let me finish
but Joy, whenever it's taking you what? It's taking you 4 minutes and you've called him a Nazi already. Come on.
But, and now, what we're seeing are masked federal agents sweeping up cooks, abuelas,
illegals
who work on farms,
illegals,
picking up dishwashers,
illegals,
any brown person. And Tom Homan said, based on one criteria being their appearance, it's overwhelmingly brown and some black people. We're not seeing them sweeping up white folks on the street. Donald Trump ran a racial identity campaign, and yeah, this is America. That is appealing to, unfortunately, a lot of Americans.
Well, actually,
because the people coming across the border are not white. That's why. It's common sense. Sometimes racial profiling makes sense because you have a certain profile of a person that is committing a crime, and you look for that person. If I commit a crime and people see me and I get away, they're probably going to say, he was tall, he was brown, he had long curly hair. Is that racially profiling me, or is that accurately profiling me as a potential criminal? People coming across the border are not white with blue eyes and blonde hair. They're not. I'm sorry. They look like me. And I'm not offended. I'm really not, because that is the profile of the people that are crossing the border and coming here illegally. Ta-da!
Turned out to be very appealing to Latino Americans who voted for him in record numbers. Yeah. More Latinos voted for him than voted for Kamala Harris, the non-white candidate.
Including me.
Black Americans, African Americans voted for Trump this time round than first time round. So for
true. Statistically, it was the same. Same number of black Republicans voted for him that always
more black Americans voted for Trump this time than last time.
It was the same. And by the way, this is the other challenge. There is a phenomenon, and my family are immigrants, and there is a phenomenon among immigrants of slamming the door behind themselves. And by the way, more Latinas, women in the Latino community voted for Harris. But there is a phenomenon, if you talk to people who actually are in the community and study this and spend a lot of time on it, journalists who studied it, there are a lot of Latinos who want so badly to identify with Americanness that they identify against fellow immigrants. That is not a new thing.
Not true.
Maybe they weren't
not true.
Maybe they weren't identified. But Joy,
that's not new.
If they came here legally, yeah, they're gonna have a problem.
Let me respond.
A real problem, because you came here illegally.
Let me respond to that. Maybe they were just sick and tired of people like you, and I say this respectfully, but people like you constantly calling Trump a Nazi. Maybe they thought it was ridiculous to compare.
Don't call people vermin and say they're poisoning the blood of our country. That's not the terminology. Don't use it.
You have repeatedly, over the last few years, called Trump a Nazi. Now, the Nazis were the most despicable, awful human beings we've seen in 1,000 years. They murdered 12 million people, 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. Trump is not a Nazi. So when you do that, you thought it. Let me finish.
You've just done what you normally do. I have said he uses Nazi terminology, and that's a fact.
Right.
Saying people
same thing, lady. The same thing.
That is Nazi.
You're comparing him to Nazism.
Trump. I will stand by it, because if you're calling people vermin and saying that they're poisoning the blood of our country, you are lifting language out of the Nazi playbook. That is very different from saying that Donald Trump is perpetrating a Holocaust such as in the 1930s. Right. But what he is doing is straight fascism. That's not me saying it. Mark Milley, his former Joint Chiefs of Staff chair, said that he is a fascist to the core. His former Chief of Staff says he's a fascist, and the things he's doing,
Angie, I wonder if they have a motive in saying that. If they're kind of bitter.
Not even showing any identification as law enforcement.
Let me ask you a question.
Men dragging women,
children
into vans Fascism.
You've made this point.
Up. I will stand by that any day.
Let me ask you a question about immigration. It's a very interesting topic at the moment, as you rightly observe. So my view, for what it's worth, as somebody who is an exceptional alien, is how it's described on my visa to the United States, but I have a home in Los Angeles, and I love America. I've lived and worked there for 20 years. My view is that most Americans, I think instinctively, do not have a problem with the principle of deporting undocumented workers who commit crimes.
The numbers don't lie.
In the United States.
The polls support that.
Do you have a problem with that as a policy?
As a policy, if people get a hearing and they go through a process, sure. But that is not what's happening.
No, I'm going to come to the next bit.
Hold on, that is not what's
Joy,
happening.
I'm going to finish my point.
It's not what's happening.
I wanted to see what you were prepared to agree with me about, because I think it's healthy to the debate, right? So we both agree about that, which is good. Now, I don't think that they should have pressed the button on deporting as many illegal immigrants who are there undocumented, but who've not committed crimes in the way that they're currently doing. That they should have sorted, first of all, people who are in the country illegally who commit crimes and deported them. Everyone.
If you come here illegally, you've committed a crime.
Wholesale pulling of people
Sorry.
off the street who may have been in America for many years, got families in America who pay taxes in America. You only have to talk to farmers to understand the devastating impact this may have. So on that, I would agree with you. But I also think that, and I hope you would agree, that Donald Trump has pretty much stopped completely the number of people coming over the southern border illegally. And under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris,
increased
over a 4-year period, as many as 10 million people are believed to have come over the southern border illegally.
Does that bother you, Joy? Does it bother you?
The Trump way of securing the southern border is better for the United States than the Biden way.
First of all, if those are Donald Trump's numbers about how many people came in over the southern border, I don't buy them at all.
What numbers do you buy?
Donald Trump said.
Of course not. Of course it doesn't.
Let me go on.
Of course not.
Let's just say it was.
Well, Joy, how many do you think it was?
No, let's just say I'm going to stipulate to you. Let's just say it was 10 million people. Are you asking your viewers to believe that 10 million people were in the country raping and robbing rather than working on farms,
They came here illegally.
We have to recall
Full stop.
So again, being in the United States without documents is a civil offense. It is not a felony. And so the reality is, if it was 10 million people, we have to ask ourselves, what is the pull? America has always run, from the time that people who looked like me were enslaved, on cheap labor, on free labor to start itself as an empire, and then on a constant pull of cheaper and cheaper labor. That is a pull that is pulling people over. And then, of course, there's the push of the destabilization in Central and South American countries. That is the push. That push-pull is a fact of life. And it was a fact of life when Donald Trump was president the first time.
But what's that got to do with how many come over the southern border illegally?
The difference is now, if you let's say where you end all undocumented migration to the United States, all that would do is put a burden on the pull part of it, because you have industries that desperately rely on farm labor.
And they shouldn't.
So why shouldn't you have a system? But Joy, why
raising it to zero does nothing to change my life.
Joy, why shouldn't people?
What it's done is
why shouldn't people? Let me just ask you, why shouldn't people do what I had to do when I wanted to live and work in America? I mean, just go through a proper process and get accepted to be allowed to come into the United States.
A proper process.
How a normal, well-controlled border works.
You mean legally?
So what you seem to be suggesting is that because America's economy needs a lot of workers, we should simply have a system where anyone can come in. And if that's not your belief, then how would you regulate the southern border?
Not to mention the fact that if you really look at those numbers, she's right in what she's saying. In fact, that people are coming over and corporations are exploiting these workers by paying them very low wages off the books because they're not legal. So a lot of these people are coming here and they're doing the work and they're getting half the pay because they just want to be here. So corporations are using these people. So you're telling me, we should let these people come and be exploited by working for crappy wages, and in return they get to stay here. How is that okay? How is that any better? And this idea of, if we get rid of the illegals, who's going to pick the crops, sounds very reminiscent of, if we stop slavery, who's going to pull the cotton?
They're putting people in private prisons that are unregulated by the federal government. We've heard stories of people eating rotten food, having to use
you still haven't told me what you would do
for the restroom. And so the reality is what we have right now.
And those are all consequences to their actions. You come here illegally, you get caught. That's what happens.
Against brown migrants, easier. I've actually been to the southern border and looked at the process and looked at the previous version of detention that Donald Trump did in his first term. First of all, it was horrific, and it was abusive even then to children. But
were you as outraged by Barack Obama's deportation program of over three?
Absolutely.
Oh, wait.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm to doing the immigration reform.
Do you know how many people he deported?
Since Marco Rubio joined the Gang of Eight.
Do you know how many people Barack Obama deported in 8 years?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Well, why don't you guess?
I don't know and don't care.
Well, hang on. You don't know,
really?
You don't care. You've just given me...
Because it's not the issue.
Hang on.
Wow.
Hang on.
I don't know and I don't care.
You've just given me... Joy. Joy.
Because he's black.
Joy. You've just given me... Joy.
Was not dragging women and
let me finish.
Nursing babies apart and taking...
Joy.
You've just given me...
I'm sure going to tell me it's your main issue.
You've just given me
but it's not my main issue. My main issue is that what we're seeing...
I'm trying to finish my sentence. You've just given me a lengthy monologue attacking Donald Trump's aggressive deportation policy. And I've simply said to you, there was a Democrat, a black Democrat president of the United States for 8 years. I'm simply asking, given that you're obviously all over every detail of the Trump deportation policy, and given you were on the airwaves in America on a daily basis through Obama's tenure, how many people did he deport in 8 years?
I do not know. You'll tell me, I'm sure.
Interesting.
Probably more than 1 million people. I'm quite certain.
Have a
because
guess.
I think each 2 million.
Right, it was 3 million.
Okay. And your point being what?
My point being, are you as shocked by that as you are claiming to be by Trump?
It is not deportations
Many of them
themselves
were brown.
that are shocking. Wait a minute. Can I answer your question?
The majority were brown.
One moment. It is not deportation in and of itself that is what is shocking to people.
Oh, now the standard's different.
There are two things.
Now the goalpost is different.
Number one,
do you condemn Barack Obama's deportation policy, given that he deported more people? Let me finish. More people than any American president in history in his 8 years.
What an absolutely disingenuous argument here, because what people are yes. No, I'm gonna explain it.
My goodness.
You didn't even know how many he deported.
No, it was not, and there was no rendering of people. There was a process for deportation, and you know that it's materially different.
As we sit here, Obama deported more people pro rata per year than Trump has ever done.
How many did he render to a third party? How many did he render to a third party? Because what he's also doing
you're
is
outraged by Trump, but you're not outraged by Obama.
I'm absolutely outraged by fascism.
Of course you are.
And by snatching
but Obama wasn't a fascist because
you got TDS, lady. TDS.
Obama's got brown skin. He's not a fascist. Is that your policy?
Well, that's your simplistic, racialized way of looking at it.
It's yours about
you're
Trump.
Doing on this show.
It's yours about Trump. Let's move on to. I want to just play a clip of. When you lost your job at MSNBC. That's
when you got fired.
My show had value. And that, I'm sorry, that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. Whether it's...
But you told Mark Lamont Hill on his show this.
It's racism.
I said on my show that the reason Americans could relate to Ukrainians in a way that they didn't relate to Palestinians, that Ukrainians are white. And so watching white people get their schools bombed was, hit different. That hit our ratings. I mean, it definitely, we could see the loss of white.
Oh, now who's race baiting?
That moment that I said that. So they were like, we don't like the name calling. And also I'm a black woman. So, I mean, I'm sure it makes him angrier, when I say things. Maybe because I am a global South person myself, I mean, as a black person, we have a different empathy.
I don't care about race. I'm a black woman.
South people when they are suffering. And so we're going to come at that story from a different angle and in a different way and with different kinds of empathies. And I think that's not always received very well in the news business.
No, Joy, I mean, look, let's be honest. I don't think you were fired after all those years because of your skin color or because you're a black woman. I think you were fired because your show just got increasingly unpopular. It happens all the time in TV. That's why you got let go. Why play the race card?
First of all, I love the fact that your play the race card is your version of the race card. You literally are so fixated on trying to racialize conversations.
You just said I'm a black woman from a black perspective. She's talking about
any host in history.
All right, Piers. And the bottom line is you take an entire conversation that I had with Mark Lamont Hill and pick the bits that you can racialize because this is your shtick. And I get that this is your shtick.
You racialize everything, Joy. Come on.
I get it. I understand this is your shtick, Piers. And listen, game recognize the game. I get this is your game.
It's not my shtick.
And the bottom line.
It was your
shtick.
shtick.
It is your shtick. And everyone knows that it is. Piers, we understand what it is. And it is so interesting to me.
And that's why he has a show. And you don't. That was a poop show. Video does go on a little bit longer, but I will have a link in my description for the full video if you want to watch it as well. It's a poop show. The fact that she's just such one of the biggest race hustlers around, and she's sitting there calling Piers Morgan somebody who makes everything about race. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, that's your whole shtick. Like, that's what you are. That's what you do. That's how you've made money. You are a race hustler. You and the likes of Sunny Hostin and all the others, you do the same thing over and over again. You make everything about race, and then when it's brought up, when it comes to your hypocrisy, suddenly you can't say that. You're a racist. And her entire strategy in that interview was, let me just keep talking and talking and talking and ignoring his questions, and then eventually he'll stop asking me questions and I can just keep talking. Yeah, I wonder why her show didn't last. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments down below what you think of this video. What did you think of this interview? Was it a poop show like it was for me? Let me know what your thoughts are. I would love to hear them down below. If you enjoy my content, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit my notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video. Until next time,